Here we go. The first official podcast.
This is the real deal. We're taking content very seriously now. We do make a lot of content, but this is the next level.
Content has been our number one
driver
growth tactic, I was going to say. And we started in my little basement 2 houses ago. We were just talking about this, weren't we?
Yeah.
And then we got a bit of an upgrade with where I currently am with my new house, where we got, what do you call them? We call it the moon, but what is it?
A very large light.
It's a huge lighting rig.
Obnoxiously huge for the tiny room that it was for.
It takes up 30-40% of my office, this thing. And now we're in this amazing studio.
A very legitimate studio. And
this is pretty cool. We got some camera there. I think that one's on me. Hello.
Yeah.
And that one's on both of us, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I wasn't special enough to have my own camera, sadly. So there we go.
Mm.
It's the hierarchy of the business.
What are we calling this one? We're calling this one
the Big Fat Launch Podcast.
The Big Fat Launch.
Well, this is a working title, so we don't know if it's 100% going to be, but if it is,
I don't like podcasting. Then I think it should be the Big Fat Launch.
The Big Fat Launch, fine. So this hopefully should make
Big
the
Fat
edit.
Social
Otherwise,
launch,
it'll have to be cut out because we changed our tune. So.
True. Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, we are here, everyone, because it's very exciting because we are slowly. Triggerfy is going through a sort of evolution once again, not a pivot. We'll talk about the pivot shortly, but we're going through to the next stage of our journey, and we thought we would sort of document everything around that and why we're kind of doing it and what's the sort of benefits and kind of, as a business, how we've come to that conclusion essentially. And so I think it'd be cool just to kick off, maybe because we've talked about it a lot, but maybe there's people who haven't seen or like just seen the content around it or even just don't know us or like have come and, joined the company or like become a customer at a later date. So I think it'd be good just to kind of kick off by like going through kind of
the stages,
because there's been a lot of stages. And I think on LinkedIn, I think you see a lot of content about people winning a lot. And actually you think it's a very linear journey. People are just like, I went from 0 to $1 million ARR in 2 months, and all this kind of stuff, which may happen to some people, but I think there's a lot of BS that kind of floats around.
LinkedIn is just a cesspit of BS.
Yeah. Everyone kind of like bigging themselves up. But so I think it would be cool just to kind of start with, rolling all the way back to like the agency days, which was when we started working together, and then kind of go from there basically, because the agency was, I'll let you discuss it, but basically came from your content basically, almost by accident.
Well, so the agency was formed, actually, if I take it a step back further, is I was running a company prior to starting Triggerfy, and I moved out to the US and moved to New York. And I remember hiring an SDR for like 60 grand base salary. And everyone at the time to me was like, oh, that's a really cheap salary. And I was like, Jesus, are you serious?
It's different gravy in the US.
Different gravy, yeah. And I thought to myself at the time, like this role shouldn't be that expensive. Like there has to be a way of automating it. And so long story short is once I left that company, I started doing a lot of automations using... It wasn't NA10 at the time. It was another tool called Data Fetcher, which was built inside of Airtable, and just basically started building out automations and then doing like content on that, and just posting that on LinkedIn with no kind of, I guess, rhyme or reason other than I was just really enjoying building it. And I was like, this is cool shit to post about. And what happened is people started reaching out to me and was like, hey, like, can you come work with us like on a consultancy basis and build out some stuff, XYZ. And eventually it got to the point where I was like, right, there's like, I could come in, there's between 5 to 10 people that I was doing it for. And I was like, well, actually, maybe there's a product here. I always wanted to create my own SaaS business. And so what I thought was, well, let's form an agency and use the revenue that we get from the agency to drive into the SaaS product. And at that point, I mean, me and you has been speaking way before this, but that's the point where I was like, well, do you want to come on and join? This is actually, I'm getting enough business now that this makes sense for you to join and help me with the CS side of things. And at the time it was, primarily like CS and customer support. And then your roles kind of evolved into marketing and whatnot. But that was how like the agency was born.
Yeah, we came from. And we had an interesting like selection of clients. The story I always like to tell when I thought we really need to move away from this was when someone asked me to, or the request came in to monitor the price of sausages.
I didn't sell that deal.
I know we didn't sell it, but monitor the price of sausages across European supermarket websites. And I thought this is a bit unhinged.
Yeah. But the thesis, which I think is really important, was what the product that we were offering in the automation space, in the agency space, was like an automation. So we were essentially saying, hey, and this was actually pre AI SDR coming out. We were saying like, hey, we can basically build an AI SDR. And we were doing it through a mixture. Some was like coding and some was like no code that we were basically building and building out these automations. But essentially it was an AI SDR before, and the AI SDR became a thing.
But the AI SDRs were just pieced together automations.
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
They still are.
That's a whole other discussion. But yeah, no, it was just people basically piecing together data, email, LinkedIn automation, and just having that all in one thing. Because otherwise, before it'd been quite fragmented.
Yeah.
And the narrative that came around with that, like AI SDR movement, was basically like you can replace your whole team with our tool or whatever. And it was actually, I mean, it just so wasn't there. And it was pretty like, I remember we used a couple of them, and it was basically like it was kind of okay at everything, but not good at anything, is what I seem to remember from those tools.
Yeah. And then we scaled that agency up, right? Like it got up to 300K ARR, maybe 400.
Yeah, in about 5-6 months.
Yeah, so it was quick. It was good growth. Story for another day, but I definitely think it's easier to sell bigger deals than to sell $149 PLG deal, which is what we do now. But we then got to a point where I think we had maybe 30 clients, maybe 40, in between that mark, essentially. And we're like, okay, we now have a decision to make. Do we continue to hire people to help continue to scale out this agency? Or do we basically take all that cash that we had just been stockpiling up and push into SaaS?
Yeah.
And it was at that point we hired our CTO, or at that time he joined as a contractor, and we started building the SaaS application out. And it started as an AI SDR tool.
We had the avatars.
We had the full works. And this is the fun fact that I actually don't think we talk about this enough, is we launched it. So we've always been good at marketing and just building hype.
900-person waiting.
900-person waitlist. I joke about it because like I look at our marketing and I don't physically look at what we do. I look at our team and we just have a good time. We have good fun. And I'm like, this is incredibly dysfunctional that it's functional. But yeah, we had 900 people on the wait list. We launched it. And then day 2, we're like, we'll close it down.
Yeah. I also think waiting lists can lull you into a massive false sense of security.
They are terrible. I wouldn't do a wait list again.
Yeah, it was hilarious because I remember sitting on a call being like, right, so if 10% of these people convert, we're going to be on 100K of MRR and it's going to be unreal. It just was like, I think we got one customer. I mean,
no, do you remember it? We launched it, right? And we were like just watching like the signups of people who convert from the waitlist across. And it was like, oh, this is really anticlimactic. No one is signing up.
Yeah.
And then we had a couple trickle in, and then we had a deal.
Yeah.
And we were like, yes. Yeah. And then the guy emailed being like, I purchased by mistake.
Yeah. He could have a refund.
Anyway, so the reason we decided to pivot after day 2 is like we were watching how people were using it, and it was like, do you know what?
Was way too high.
I think at the time the way that we tackled the AI SDR like concept is we were a little bit ahead of where the models were at the time. And so we were using natural language processor to basically build out the automation behind the scenes, which is what AI SDRs are. And man, they were just talking to it and asking it some rogue questions and
seriously rogue requests,
and expecting this AI SDR to completely get it. So it was at that point we essentially then pivoted into really what I would then say was Triggerfy, the original product, like V1, which was an all-encompassing signal platform. So we did jobs, so hiring alerts, company like news. So we did like news alerts. We did people movements. We even did some like custom AI signals in there. So at the time we were kind of going after, I guess for people, like the best way to reference it is like it's very similar to like a common room. very signal to like a user gems, maybe Apollo kind of like, signal based platforms. And that was pretty successful, or it was good.
I always felt that people didn't jump on it. Like it was always, whenever we were doing sales calls, it was kind of people like, yeah, like kind of makes sense, but I'm not like,
it was hard.
I'm not psyched about it.
It was like, the way I would describe it is like we were a hamster on a wheel. Like we were just like, it was so much effort to like get anything going, and we just clearly didn't have product market fit. And so we always knew that we were going to evolve into, or not evolve into, but add on social signals.
Yeah.
Because that was just like a next step, and I think we were the ones actually leading the charge with social signals, which was just cool. By no means do I think that we invented social signals. I just think that we really took it and like brought that to life and like really shaped what that like kind of envisioned and looked like, and kind of marketed it in a way that no one had done before. But what we realized is once we started adding that in is actually this thing converts at a rate that, I mean, I've been in sales for, gosh, I think like over 10 years now.
Yeah.
And it was converting like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah. I think when you're shocked by your own tool's results, that's when you know you're on something. Because people were reporting these like, especially with like LinkedIn automation.
30-40%.
Yeah.
Positive
we were like,
reply rate.
We were like, what is going on? Like we weren't even expecting that, which was cool.
Yeah.
And it was just really like, that was just a really exciting time. So we eventually had to like we came to a crossroads basically.
We were like, well, at the time we still only had Morgan, who's our CTO, so only one developer. Trying, without getting too technical, trying to do multiple different signals requires multiple different data sets, right? So job data, news data, company data, people data, social data. That's a lot of moving parts. And so we were like, well, and I think it was at the same time and I think this is the number one advice that I would give to myself starting this whole journey again is niche. Just be as niche as possible and do one thing insanely well. Yeah. And that's all you need to do for the first 12 months.
For one type of customer as well.
For one type, it's niche. Niche is the word. Niche.
Yeah.
If you are a entrepreneur and if you start starting out like a business specifically, I think actually this applies to anything, to be honest, any type of business. Like the more niche that you can make that, the better. There's so much time for going wide and far. And so we talked a lot about this, right? And we decided, okay, well.
And we knew that was the funny thing. We knew that advice as well, but we
didn't
follow it.
That advice. The reason you don't follow it is because you chase the cash. You're like, quick, add that on. This customer said that, add that on. And it's so hard. You can get very distracted.
It's scary to turn things off.
And it's scary to turn
so much time.
We spent
8-9 months.
8-9 months building a tool that we basically said goodbye to 90% of it and goodbye to like 80% of our customers.
Yeah.
So it was a bold decision, but ever since we did that, which was back in October 2024, it's been so positive. I mean, so we then basically focused specifically on social data.
Yeah.
And social data with the lens of primarily focusing on social data to help sales teams and growth teams. So again, it's like a signal for sellers to get in touch with a prospect.
Yeah.
And we've grown, I don't know, between 20 to 30% month on month. I think it's like, if I expand it out between October till now, it's roughly about 20% that we've been growing month on month, which is, I mean, it's insane.
But it took us a long time to get there, really. It took us.
It took multiple pivots. We joke, don't we? Like our favorite meme in the company is Ross from Friends, where they're going up the stairs with the sofa and they're going pivot. And I do think that this day and age it's tough because you see on LinkedIn and everywhere you see these AI companies like Lovable and all these companies where they've done insane growth in such a short pace of time. And
there was that one company I saw recently that got bought by Wix after 6 months, $80 million. You think, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
All cash.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
It's tough because you don't no one really makes noise about the company that. It's funny, the growth that we're doing now was seen as incredibly good growth just pre this AI boom. Now, just because of like, well, you go triple, double or whatever, which is what we're doing. And now because of these like Cursor and Lovable and stuff, it's like completely blurred the lines on, where we're going. So in terms of like what's good and what's not. But yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting once we do this next pivot. Or should I say it's more of a
evolution.
It's an evolution. It's not a pivot.
Stage of growth. Yeah.
Yes.
So well, this is an interesting point. So we landed in social, and we're going to stay in social. We know this is where this is our home.
Yeah.
But then it kind of the conversation came up because of the types of customers we were getting and the way people were using it and all this kind of stuff. It's like, do we can kind of continue down and go deeper in the road that we're on, or do we kind of then move on to this other like area of like expanding it, becoming more sort of social intelligence focused and becoming like, adding agents into the mix and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's just an interesting point to see like what's, I guess like, just to talk about like the process behind all of that, like why do that? Why not stick with what we know?
Yeah, let's dissect it.
Yeah, because I think it's a really interesting point, and actually probably if we just stayed what we were doing, even our investors questioned what we were doing.
Yeah,
they're like, we have to meet you face to face to understand this. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
So
churn, right? Like, well, I think it's two things. Like, number one
big motivator
is churn. We have high churn, and the reason that we have high churn is we have basically there's two reasons, right? Is one, the way that the product is kind of set up. It's not. We're doing a PLG motion and the product isn't incredibly sticky. So you set it up, and then once you've set it up, you're kind of like done. And it requires good kind of like expertise to leverage this data. If you leverage this data with the right expertise, it's going to be absolutely, you crush it. If you don't, like, it still do well, it just doesn't do as well. And as you know, you kind of have to crush it for people to stay around for a long time. So, and then the other point is, aside from not being sticky, is just the wrong ICP. So we attract a lot of sub 10 company size, a lot of solopreneurs, founders, which is fine. But the challenge is very hard to get them to spend a lot of money when there's also a lot of other tools, and we're only doing like one piece of the puzzle of like the whole kind of GTM flywheel that you're probably going to need to create. So it can get expensive for those types of individuals. And so churn can be high because they come in, come out. We got a lot of agencies, they come in, come out based on their clients' needs. And generally, it's just one of those businesses that is a challenge to keep the churn down the way that the product's built on the ICP that we have now. And so you could argue, well, could you just make the product more sticky, and therefore even with your ICP it could improve? And yes, in theory, I think it could. I think we could get, our gross churn right now is around 12%, 13% on average, higher some months, lower some months. So it's not nice. It's a bit disgustingly high.
Painful sometimes.
I think you could get that down to sub 5%. That's still not very good, but you could get it down to sub 5% gross churn. But it's tough. Doing a PLG motion with that product, we'd have to go deeper into one particular social data set. It's very hard to get a land and expand strategy going, because it's very like sole use case, which is just like sales building an evergreen campaign, which it totally crushes with, but like it's a one use case thing. And if you've only got one use case, the probability of a customer churning is pretty high. And then I think the key part here is the data that we're sitting on can be used in so many different ways and is far more valuable than just the one use case. And so we're really not doing social data a good service by just giving them that one option. And so the potential for this, and the potential to disrupt a industry that is pretty legacy based. If you look at all the social listening providers, a large majority of them have already IPO'd. a large majority of them are built on this legacy infrastructure, and a large majority of them are not ready for this new wave of AI that is incoming, and able to leverage social data as a result. They'll just do surface level kind of AI features inside of the platform, not build a platform using AI to kind of leverage the social data to make it actionable.
Yeah, well, this is a big focus, right? Which is this sort of idea of like it becoming actionable. Because I mean, let's talk about, because you worked at a social listening tool,
Yeah.
and so you've seen it firsthand, and you were there for quite a few years. So, what is it that these other social listening tools in the moment in the market are doing, and then why is it that, like, what is the difference that's coming with AI, and more specifically like our workflows and everything else? Because there is a big difference, and I think it's interesting to see, like, we have use cases across. Social listening is typically seen as like a marketing tool, and that's it. But actually, I think there's multiple use cases across other different teams that can be super, super useful and dictate like the roadmap, dictate the your content, all this kind of stuff. So, what is the market like at the moment? What are you going to get if you go to a different provider basically at the moment?
Yeah. So the way that social listening providers currently work at the moment is volume-based approach, which is completely understandable. I.e., I want to go track a keyword or a set of keywords and essentially pull back any mention of those keywords. So very typical use case is monitoring, your company, for example, and you want to pull back any mentions across YouTube, blogs, forums, Twitter, Reddit, you kind of name it. Now, while that's great, what we're starting to see is this shift in marketing, sales, and product. No, we don't really care too much to report on, okay, we've been mentioned 20 times versus 3 times with a competitor. It's more, well, okay, if that is the scenario, how can we actually action data that we're picking up elsewhere to improve our presence, to improve brand perception, to improve the product experience, the customer experience, to improve sales teams? And historically with social listening platforms currently is you set up a search, you monitor the mentions, you then report on those mentions. How many times am I being spoken about? What is the overall sentiment? What is my share of voice? It's very surface level insight, and you kind of have to ascertain the information from those reports. So you have to contextualize graphs, right? Which is no one does that anymore. In fact, everything is going from a visual to more of a chat-based functionality thanks to GPT. And so what we're basically introducing is, yes, we're a social listening platform at its core, but the way that we have designed the platform is we have built a social agentic workflow on top of all of our social data, which in layman's terms basically means you can create agents and social workflows to action this data. And I'll give you an example. So you could, let's say your cursor, you could be monitoring anytime your competitors are being mentioned, Windsurf, Claude Code, whomever it is, right? ChatGPT, Codex. And you can monitor every single mention, how all the consumers are talking about, these competitors. And you then can use an agent to analyze the sentiment, specifically not the overall post, which is how all these legacy tools work, but the actual entity, i.e. the product that you're monitoring inside of that post. And then what you can start to use is another agent to then be like, okay, what is this person talking about? What feature are they saying that they like or dislike? And creating an assumption of, if we could do X, Y, Z to fix that, that would be a really interesting tool. And so the agent then does that. And then you're able to tap into that insight to start giving your product team insights such as, hey, okay, they talk a lot about, they need this, easy onboarding flow. And that can start to surface actionable insights to your product team, where it could automatically create tickets inside of your Jira or your Linear or whatever you use. Another example would be for marketing, obviously you got brand monitoring, things like that. If certain keywords are being mentioned inside of a post, creating a high alert signal to send a WhatsApp message or a text message or an email to your executive team. Maybe they want to listen into competitors and use competitor monitoring to create battle cards for your sales team. If they release a new feature, pull that in, create a battle card. And obviously, finally, the other use case, and what a lot of these social listening tools have been trying to do, is get into the sales teams, which is where we've started. And they can do the use case that we're already doing, which is finding people engaging with content that is of interest to what your company or product does, or finding people talking about something that is relevant for you, and then you can obviously reach out to them. Now, here's why these companies will struggle to do that. I mentioned right at the start that they do volume-based approach. You can't send 30,000 tweets through to an agent. The context windows, the tokens, it's basically too much data being sent to an agent. It would cripple it. And the way that we are basically doing it is we have built this way of processing the information coming in, which will basically feed the workflows that you will set up one at a time, allowing you to use an agent over that data to store information and then bring out that information when you choose fit. Without getting too technical, it's basically creating an embedding systems and a RAG retrieval on demand. For those of you that are technical, you'll know what I mean. For anyone else, it basically means you're giving your agent superpowers. I think is probably the easiest way of putting it.
Yeah, nice. Because I think what's something from our perspective, which is yes, it's spread over multiple teams, but like who would be like the most sort of optimum user for something like this? Like who would, like, if from our perspective, like we're obviously like going to be targeting sort of like different teams to kind of get it, and obviously from a sales perspective, because the sales motion is also something we need to talk about, because that's changing as part of what we're doing, and why we're doing that. So actually, I mean, let's use that as an opportunity. So because at the moment the product in its current guise is PLG, 100%. We kind of do a bit of sort of sales assisted and hand holding through that process. But what's going to change from the sort of motion in terms of how we're going to approach like sort of selling this product? And then also, because it's spread over multiple teams and because there is value for multiple teams, where is the targeting going to lie initially in terms of like who do you go after? Who's the best sort of ICP?
Yeah,
all of this, because I think it's a question that we've considered quite a lot,
and I still don't think we've ended up
on
the final decision. But I'll start with the first point of the question. So we're moving to a sales assisted motion, and what I mean by a sales assisted is so historically you have two motions. You have PLG and sales led. PLG being self-serve, e-com style, go to the website, sign up, away you go without any intervention. And then sales led is typically a little bit more outbound, but it can be inbound. But it's you come to a sales rep, they tell you which product you need, and then they will send you a contract and you buy from there. We're doing like a sales assisted motion, which is the way that we'll design our packages is we'll have 3 packages, 2 of which are more enterprise based packages. So they require a salesperson to be on the end of that. And we're also then going to have a monthly kind of recurring, more of a lower tiered PLG package as well. Now, the plan is actually I built I vibe coded a kind of demo form booker, whatever you call it, that will sit on our website, which as you enter your email will qualify you whether you are a good ICP or not. If you're not within ICP, you're going to go straight through to the product, and you can only sign up on the lower tier PLG option. If you're on that and then you want to upgrade, then we will speak to you essentially. So that's kind of like the element of PLG still there. And if you are a qualified client, you will then get routed straight through to me, I guess, sales team, be myself to start with, the extension, and then eventually, whomever that we have. So that's the first part. And that's the change that we're doing. The reason that we're doing that is the deal sizes are going to be going from monthly recurring, $147 or $149 is our lowest current package, to $924K annualized deals. 24K plus, right? Like, the way that we've designed the new pricing point and the new packages is we could get, 100, 200K deals out of this if things go well. But we then have a $300 a month kind of, self-serve package as well. So that's the kind of the reason for the change. And we believe that will also help with churn, because to do the sales led or the sales assisted motion, we're changing the ICP, we've changed the website. We're going to get better, that's the wrong word to use, not better people, but it's like better companies for us that aren't so price sensitive, which is also the reason why they're churning. And really, we've zeroed in on B2B PLG companies are probably the, based on our initial like research and current customer base, are the best type of customers for us.
I think that's an interesting point, because with the product in its current guise, I guess it's very obvious as to what pain we were solving, I guess, because basically a lot of these people, email was getting harder and harder, it becoming more noisy, and so social data, combined with LinkedIn automation, was a new way of like generating a very high response rate, which is what people were looking for, especially with agencies and that kind of thing. So I'm interested to like get your take on what is the customer pain for these larger companies that requires this new like evolution of the product, essentially. Because very obvious, basically the old guys was, we want to book more meetings, quite simple. What's why is this suddenly, why do we think this is now a need for something like this for a larger customer, for a bigger enterprise?
Well, you first got to answer, you're still thinking of us selling to a salesperson. So I'm actually going to go back to the question that you asked before, which is like, what vertical are we going to sell into? Sales, marketing, product, finance, wherever we're going with this. Because the question that you just answered is a use case for a sales team. And we definitely can still sell to sales teams. And the use case is basically understanding when is a lead ready to be reached out to, and creating a contact level signal. So if we think about it like this, is historically intent database platforms are focusing on company-based signals and intent, whereas actually we don't really care. Like, just because a company has done a funding round or someone in the company has searched XYZ, does that actually mean that the individual, the decision maker, is ready to buy? Probably not. And so what we're doing is we're focusing on tracking the online breadcrumbs, the social breadcrumbs, i.e. every move that someone makes, and creating an assumption of when they're ready to buy based on their social media activity. And that's the use case for sales. Now, and that's what like these large enterprise companies could do with that, and they could build like a workflow so they could connect it to all their different tools. They could create AI to create copy for these people based on all of these like breadcrumbs that we picked up, and so on and so on. It's a little bit like Hansel and Gretel. But then you also have now, with this new option, this new kind of rebrand that we've done, an option to sell to marketeers and an option to sell to product. And, marketeers would be, okay, how could they arm the wider organization with information that would empower product to do their work, sales to do their work, and marketeers to create a marketing strategy that would allow them to reach their goals. To do that, they can consume competitor data. They could consume data on their own brand, how people are talking about them. So this is all like consumer intelligence from a competitor and brand perspective. Industry analysis, trends that are happening, how the consumer voice is changing. All of this data is available with us, but you need to make sense of it. And that's the issue with legacy platforms is, yes, I can like on face value, our social listening is the same as another social listening database provider, right? It's both companies are just monitoring a tool. But how can you actually action that data? How can you make sense of 30,000 tweets? You can't. You could build a nice dashboard, but dashboards or mentions fill dashboards, but signals drive revenue. And that's like our kind of our new little like motto, right? And so we need to have the ability to create a signal from those 30,000 mentions. And that's where that workflow or the social agentic workflow starts to come in to basically contextualize unstructured, messy social data into data that makes sense for a marketeer, for a salesperson, and for a product person to actually action it. Now, the big question is where do we start? What's like our Trojan horse? Do we go into the sales because that's kind of what we're known for, and then sell to a marketeer and then sell to a product person? We don't really know the answer. And it's kind of like one of those things that we need to take this to market to all three.
And figure it out.
And if product team comes back and is like, oh my God, this is incredible, I can use it to run insane amount of consumer intelligence to help shape the roadmap, to help shape feedback and whatnot. And the other two are like good, but don't just have enough traction. Then we need to kind of structure us as a product consumer intelligence tool and shape the marketing strategy around. The product doesn't need to change. That's the beauty about the way that we build the product now. But it's just like the angle that we will do with the marketing, because
it's the messaging.
Going back to what I said to you ages ago, it's niche down, niche down, niche down. And then once you've cracked that vertical within those industries, then we can expand. And I think that's the strategy that we're going to adopt here. Cool. We just had a bit of a break.
Bit of a breather. I think calm everything down. It's very hot today in London, so we are.
I was getting excited.
I'm pretty excited about the next.
Yeah, I am excited. I am really excited. Like, for me personally,
you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
No, I tell you, I have been a builder of workflows for a long time, as you know. And for those that follow me, my content is just, how nerdy can I go with building this type of stuff? So to build this into my own product is very exciting.
It's very exciting.
It's very exciting for me. I am a little bit like a kid in candy shop. I kind of don't care how well it does, because I'm just like, I get to play with it anyway. So
yeah, because I think interesting. Like 2025 has been the year of the agent. It's safe to say, like it's really become a thing, just across the board. People wanting to leverage agents.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Just out of curiosity, like, 'cause I think it just suddenly exploded. And your content also exploded. When I do an agent video, it kicks off. So people are just so interested by them, I think.
With agents specifically. Oh gosh. I think the reason that agents are getting so popular is we've gone from 2023, 2024 of like AI and being like, wow, this is so cool, this can reply to me in a certain way, to being like, how could I autonomously have something or someone, aka an agent, basically run a certain task for me? And so I think it's the first time that we've realized that we can start to action data, action tasks without actually having to apply a human head to it, which means the profitability that a business could get. I mean, like, put it this way, it is now possible to have a $1 billion company. That's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It is going to happen. I'm ready for it.
I'm ready for it.
It won't be us, but it'll be someone.
I'm tempted to fire all of you just as we get to the $1 billion point to do it. But, I think the year of agents is all about creating this autonomy with certain different tasks and contextualizing data in a way that it's never been done before, because we can now give agents context. An AI model is only as good as that model. You have to provide it context. That's why I'm so excited about ours, because we have the best context in the world. We have social data. And by the way, agents can't get this social data unless they're fed it. We're the only ones with the data, really. So you can't build an agent inside of any other tool. You would still have to take an API from us to give it the context and social data.
Yeah.
So you may as well use it inside of Triggerfy, which is what I think is really exciting. And I think what we're then going to see in 2026, 2027 is more where the agents start to create decision trees on their own, right? And it's more going towards this kind of superhuman, supercomputer kind of concept. I don't think they will have their own thoughts, right? I don't think we're there yet on general intelligence, but they're going to have enough context that they can actually start to create different tasks and workflows and give you decision trees in a way that we just can't do right now as well. So I think it's going to continue to evolve with where we're going with this, which is really exciting.
Yeah, because I think it's an interesting point where we're kind of combining two sort of very up and coming industries. So there's obviously the sort of AI agent side of things, but there's also just B2B, the rise of B2B influencers and B2B content on a whole has kind of, it's always been there, but like it's really taken off from like a social perspective.
Yeah.
I'd say kind of over the last 2 or 3 years. Because social listening was always more of a sort of B2C thing, right? Like trying to hit, like for brands, big brands trying to figure out like, what's going on social. But I'd say from a B2B perspective, there's no one really kind of tapping into that vein quite in the way that we're doing it. And then also leveraging like agents on top of that, which is obviously another very hot topic.
Yeah.
I think is really exciting. And I think is going to be just the best tool out there, in my opinion.
I mean, if you think about it, social media is not even 30 years old yet as like a concept.
Yeah.
I think Facebook and Twitter and all these companies came out in the 2000s, right? 2008, maybe a little bit before. I can't remember. It's like 2003 to 2010. It's in between that period off the top of my head. So it's relatively new, and the brands that then hopped onto that were typically B2C brands, like you said. And social listening tools have been predominantly geared towards B2C kind of brands and kind of consumer-based monitoring, which is completely understandable. And, you know, B2B marketing, you never really thought about social media. You were thinking more about, you know, pushing kind of press into certain, you know, newspapers and advertising and SEO and podcasts and thinking like other mediums, right? And then it's only really started taking off in the last, you know, 3 years or so. But it was a very slow start. Like really in the last 12 months, has it started to become a thing that there is a concept called a B2B influencer. And it's just the same. It's just there's no difference between an influencer that focuses on nutrition, health versus a business, right? You're just pushing a certain concept. But brands are suddenly starting to realize that social media for businesses, for B2B brands, is actually just as powerful as it is for a B2C brand. And think about it like this. Now, whether you love it or hate it, social media is the only place where someone is truly themselves. And what I mean by that is no one is forcing someone to like a post. No one is forcing someone to write a post. No one is forcing someone to comment on a post. So if they're doing that, that is because that post is truly resonating with them in some shape or form. And therefore, if you know that to be true, you then can start to reverse analyze, like I said earlier, all of these breadcrumbs, which would be the engagements that they've done, the posts that they're doing, what they're talking about, to construct a signal that is relevant for your business in some shape or form. And that's why social media, I think, is so exciting. And, you know, we live in an era, it's, gosh, man, we won't get into this, but like, you know, having kids, and we both have kids, like raising them in this era, it's a complex one. You know, news is now broken on social media first. Opinions are discussed and debated on social media first. And it's depressing to say, but lives are lived through social media first. You go do something. A lot of the time, people are going to do something these days because they want to post it on social media, not because they want to have a good time. All this to be said is, because this is starting to then bleed over into the B2B side, and platforms like LinkedIn, now Substack, now YouTube are becoming more and more dominant, and video is rising up to the top. And the reason why video is rising is because in a world where we lack authenticity is becoming the most interesting point and the key part for businesses to advertise. 10 years ago, we wanted high quality, high crisp advert, even for B2C influencer. They wanted like creme de la creme post that they're going to do. Now, I just want to get like my phone out and record something like this.
Rawer the better.
The rawer the better.
Yeah.
The more authentic that is, the better. And that's why B2B social media is becoming really, really exciting. And we are at the precipice of that. So if you are a B2B brand wanting to tap in to B2B social networks and understand how to leverage this data for you, we are the only tool for you. Like categorically, like every social listening tool is more designed for like a B2C. We are the only specific B2B social listening tool that allows you to action this data. And we don't want you to report. I don't want you to do any reporting with this social media. That's not what this tool is designed for. I want you to action all of that data. And that's why we're bleeding in the old world of social media data, combining it with the new world of agents for you to run tasks and contextualize this data and basically just be unstoppable with this information. And it's like having a direct pulse into what the world is saying, and you can use that information to shape it to whatever shape or form you wanted to do to make your business go to new places that it couldn't be done before. And I think that's the reason, you know, you're looking at Triggerfy, you think that we've been going for 5 years. we get over 1,000, like 1,200 to 1,500 signups. We only have one person in marketing, for fuck's sake. It's Piers, he's behind the camera over there. But we've known the power of social. We've known the power of video. We've been already leveraging, we've been using Triggerfy for what we're about to do for the last year or so, listening to every single conversation, creating a marketing strategy out of the back of that, watching what others people are doing, adapting to the market. And that is the reason that I think that we probably have like the top 1 percentile of marketing teams. And we're outperforming, like we were on the phone call with someone the other day whose company been going for 10 years, and we're outperforming their inbound.
Yeah.
And we spend nothing. We do no ads. We do no money in marketing. In fact, this renting of the studio is probably the only money that we spend in marketing.
Yeah.
And it's because we know what the consumers want, because we listen, and we use agents to basically drive the marketing strategy, to drive our content strategy. And it's actually driven us to the point of changing the product to where we need to go as well, which is also, is it us making the decisions, or is it
the agents?
Is it the agents?
That's the agents are building the agent tool.
And I think human brain combined with these agents, combined with data that no agents can get to. You could go to any other agent. There's a lot of these agent like building tools out there. If you can't, you can't get social data. So agents can now search the internet. They can like autonomously browse through things, which is awesome. But social data is locked behind paid walls. And the agent, so even if you could get past that first point, which you can't, but let's say you could, you can't consume enough data to actually have context to make that agent output good. And so let's talk about agents, right? Like if I gave it one tweet and the tweet was like, I love this dashboards. It's incredible. We need to have dashboards more in 2025. And I asked the agent, okay, tell me what I should build. It'll be like, build dashboards.
Yeah.
But the context is one tweet, one post, whatever it is. And so the aim of the game in 2025, 2026 and beyond is how much context can you give the agent, which is like its brain, its memory. And so like I said, even if you could get past the paid firewall process, which you can't, you're then going to struggle for it to basically crawl through enough data, historical data, to have context. And that is where it's really interesting for us, is because we can provide that context. And the longer you use Triggerfy, the better it starts to become because of that context, because of that brain.
Really starts to understand who your business is, like what your business is.
It's endless. And that's actually a nightmare, because where do you market that? Because there's so many use cases here. And I think it's very rare that social isn't applicable to businesses anymore. And I think I heard someone the other day, it was Scott Leese and Adam Robinson. I think they were doing a chat. And I think Scott Leese, I think it was Adam, not sure, was like, hey, like I'm only going to hire someone that has a brand now. So he's like, I'm only going to hire an influencer. And it's like putting so much stock in the fact that now if you have a presence, you are worth more. And I get it, right? Why would you hire an account executive that has 1,000 followers versus an account executive that has 30,000 followers? Now, of course, there is nuance to this. As like, if they're both as capable as each other at selling, then why would you pick her or him versus this person that has a following? Because they're going to bring in so much more.
Yeah.
I think the reason why, and it's still slow, like we are still in the early stages of this, but it is gaining steam.
Well, that's what I think is really interesting about the B2B space at the moment.
It's gaining steam.
I think B2C, like you're seeing influencer fatigue, and people know that they are being sold to and what's an ad, and people are just really wise to it. I definitely think, and also on the flip side to that, like from a brand perspective, like dealing with B2C influencers, like they really kind of had time to figure out like how much they should cost, how much they should charge.
Oh, yeah.
And you're paying huge fees, so maybe the ROI is not great. The flip side to that is B2B, it's wide open. People are building personal brands because they know they need to, and that's becoming more and more of a thing. But like compared to B2C, like the percentage of people of users doing that is tiny, but also like, well, we speak, to people who have, got 10, 20,000, get really good engagement. How much are you going to charge me for a post? $50.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is it's wide open.
But do you know why more people like, historically why people haven't done B2B influencer marketing is how do you attribute that?
Very true.
I pay Joe Blogs to post. How do I know if that's booked any demos or not? Well, you don't. The only way that you do it is, okay, they posted on XYZ day. If there was a spike in the number of signups or the number of inbounds, and you could maybe have an assumption that it came from that person. Now, yes, you could give them a UTM link to post, but if you know anything about like social media, don't put links in posts because it kills the reach. So then it's like, well, then how do I track it? Well, then I could do a UTM link in their bio. It's like, nah, it's like you're losing it. You're losing, the funnel's already going. You're losing tracking that, but not with us, right? And here's the exciting thing is it's not just, let's take the use case, right? So the common use case that we've been selling so far is a salesperson or growth person can track if someone is engaged with a person or not, or engaged with the type of content or not, and reach out because of that. It's like, hey, you engage with content around MQL, we're an MQL company, whatever, right? It's an example. But same use case, flip on its head for marketing who want to track people engaging. Well, who was engaged with this influencer's posts? When they posted about us, how many people liked, how many people commented, who are they, their job titles, and then I can map that back to a CRM or some attribution reporting tool and be like, okay, well, Hugo liked this post, and then Hugo's gone and signed up to the blog, and then from the blog, he signed up to an actual demo, and then from a demo, he closed. Now, you could not do that before, and if you were doing it, you were probably attributing it to the blog, not to the fact that they liked your post. And so for the first time forever, we can actually get social attribution down to an individual post level, which is extremely exciting if you're going to be doing B2B influencer marketing, but also just extremely exciting for general social selling, because there's this huge push now to get your whole team to start to post.
Yeah.
I have a team of 50 sellers. On average, they're going to get 500 to 1,000 impressions. That's potentially 50,000 impressions per day, per post that they're going to get.
Yeah.
That's potentially 300,000 impressions. Now, you can start to do this isn't related to Triggerify in any sense, but you start to do the maths. You're like, well, geez, I just need to get my team to post more.
Percentage of that, percentage of that, and suddenly,
because your buyers are living on social media.
Yeah.
Whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's TikTok, they're somewhere there. All right. They are a normal human being at the end of the day. And it's just about tapping into that and accessing that. And then for the first time, if I have, Gemma and she's an account executive, she's never really wanted to post. The reason she doesn't want to post is because if she posts and someone inbounds, that lead goes to Roger. And why would Gemma be incentivized to post? I wouldn't.
That's true. I think the big thing which is an interesting point is like using Gemma as the example. The biggest thing that I think stops people though is, what do I post? I haven't got any ideas, all this kind of stuff. And I think you can really start to now, with AI and everything else and workflows, etc., like really start to tease out what are these questions that people are asking? Like there's all this, there's a lot of that as well, because I think that's usually the biggest blocker. People find it cringe. People like don't know what to post, all the rest of it. So I think that's
you've got ghostwriters now. A lot of the time, marketing takes on the responsibility for ghostwriting, but I could now track your competitors. I could track industry thought leaders that talk about something relevant to your product. I could track everyone that has a level of importance or significance to your business. Every post that they've done for the last 12 months, I could bring that all in, and then I could start to create a content strategy, either have the system write the content, and then every single week drip feed that into a Slack channel for my team. I could do that. I could have it create ideas, chuck that into a spreadsheet somewhere for marketing to then use and distribute that to the sales team or the marketing team. You could do multiple different things. For us, we've been having it give us content ideas. So it's been watching YouTube videos, it's been looking at LinkedIn posts, it's been looking at Reddit posts. It's understanding what's working, what's resonating with people. What are people saying in the comments? Where is the emotional pull coming from with a post? Because it's not necessarily the pull. It's like what is the emotion that is bringing out from people, and what are they saying in the comment section? And then how can you formulate a content strategy outside of that? And then once you have that nailed down, you can then give that to the team, the ideas, which is what we've been doing, and then you can start boosting it. Then you can get ads involved. Once you've nailed it and you've got the flywheel going,
the machine going,
then it's about pouring gasoline on.
Yeah.
But it's incredibly hard. You got to, especially if you're a Series A business, maybe like from pre-seed all the way up to Series B, you're constantly evolving that marketing strategy. And it's very labor intensive, and a lot of it is trial and error. You throw enough crap at the wall, some of it's going to stick. But how much have you spent in both money and time doing that?
Because it's organic, doing it in the organic way, and like just going through posts and all the rest of it. It is a long game. Like content on a whole is a long game, and that's the same with B2C. It's the same with B2B. It does take a lot of time, and I get that people they see the value in it, but maybe just don't have the patience for it.
It's patience. People run out of patience.
Yeah, and they want results now, which I do kind of understand, but it's...
Well, that's why that's why you action the social data for your sales team. You get results from social through outbound.
Yeah.
You use the social data to create your inbound strategy.
Yeah.
And then you use your social data to make a more sticky product. And then like social data can genuinely impact every single revenue team, product sales, marketing in the business in some shape or form. The challenge is just no one has been able to crack open that nut in a way that's valuable for them until now.
Let's get going.
I think that, that is truly what is really, really exciting about this is we had a lot of decisions to make to work out, do we just continue to provide the data and they would have to go and kind of create the context themselves? But then we're just another tool creating more noise in a sea of tools that is just giving you more data for you to contextualize. And people don't want to do that anymore. People don't want to report 15-page presentation. They don't want a 1-page dashboard.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't, like, in the grand scheme.
Like we do this whole debate, like marketeers trying to get budget from their CEOs. Like, hey, like I'm trying to prove my worth. I need cash to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Now for the first time, you can actually action social data. You can actually action content strategy. You can action all of this, and you can empower the wider org. The best way for a marketer to get more money from their CEO is, imagine, like, because founder-led brands is becoming a huge thing. Pretty much most founders these days, if you're not posting on social media, it's odd.
Yeah.
Like it is a thing now.
It is getting to that point.
You do that now.
Yeah.
You are public. You become a brand. The challenge, which is a conversation for another day, is once you are the brand, how do you stop being the brand because it can't hinge on you?
Yeah.
But that's a story for another day. But a marketer could simply now, with Triggerify, just track their CEO and pull all of the engagement that they're getting and leverage that data and reach out. Yeah. And it's like, listen, well, like, hey, there's value in you posting. Like, it's using their own data, right? It's using them. And so it's like, everyone's egotistical at the end of the day. So if their platform's doing really well, they'd be like, this is cool. I'm going to drive, I'll give you more cash. Go for it. Like, do more stuff around this. So you can actually prove, we can prove ROI in a way that's never been proved before through social attribution, through product, through sales. And I think if I was a marketeer right now, the cool thing is it's always hard to justify bringing tools on, but we have a multi-use case so that the cost can actually be dispersed across 3 departments, and also there's value for 3 departments as well, which is, for us, that's a great sales motion and a great thing to talk about with whomever we're selling to.
And makes you incredibly embedded.
Yeah,
that's the beauty. I mean, you just become incredibly sticky, especially if you're feeding multiple teams to try and then rip that out and go, okay, actually let's bin that off. There's a lot more stakeholders that have to say yes to that.
Exactly.
So
there's like an old saying. It's like, this is more when you bring on a new employee, if you introduce them to, I can't remember the exact number, but it was like 20, 30 people within the first week, the chance of them leaving is substantially less, like them quitting, because they feel like they're letting 30 people down. And you apply that logic into your go-to-market motion.
Yeah.
If you get this in front of enough people, and have enough use cases, which if we go all the way back to the start of this podcast, it was like we're one use case. That's why our churn's high. Sales might churn out. Fine. You might get a reduction in the average deal size potentially, but you're still embedded in product and marketing, for example. So yeah, that's kind of like the rationale and logic behind it all.
So within the B2B realm, like who do you think is doing or like leveraging social in a really good way? Because there are companies that do it super well. There are companies that, haven't even touched it. So I'd be curious to see just from like a listener's perspective and everything else, like if they can go check out like, all right, these guys are smashing it. Like who do you think's really kind of leading the charge at the moment?
Yeah. Well, funny enough, the first one comes to mind only just because I was listening to a podcast on them the other day, is 11 Labs. They're B2B, B2C a little bit, but they're AI voice competitors like Synthesia and things. Anyway, they have a great social strategy in general. They have a lot of personal brands. So one of the things with like a good content strategy for a B2B business is basically the company not being the brand. It's like the people inside of the business become the brand, and they then amplify the message of the brand out. And you have a lot of individuals within that. They're also they're great executioners, right? So when it's like a new product launch, they have an incredible pod system with different growth teams, different metrics that they're tracking. They are very video orientated with their content strategy. They're across everywhere. They're across every channel, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, like all of these channels they're posting. And they have dedicated Slack channels, which they share the content that they want the whole company to do. They've got 200 people now in the company. So that's a lot of people then resonating. So they do a really interesting strategy. Lemlist is a great company as well. You've got you've got, again, the common thread, which I'll say for Lemlist as well, is you have individuals with a great brand, which amplify the message out. And, Graham, like their founder, he was a huge kind of B2B influencer. And it was like the reason that Lemlist kind of, I think, are to where they are today. And then now you've got loads of people that have like 30, 40, 50,000 followers within that brand. And so what they've done that's really interesting is they've gone from one major figurehead, which is the founder, to having then multiple figureheads across the brand. And he's almost taken a back step now. He's gone into like a chairman role. But they then have enough people to push that social strategy forward. On the flip side, you've got, companies like our B2B, where Adam Robinson is the only person of that brand. And if Adam leaves, what is our B2B?
Problematic.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, he won't leave because it's his company. But the point being is it's very founder centric. And I think that's absolutely great when you're getting a business going.
And he scaled fast.
And and it's incredible. But the challenge that you then have to think at some point, once you start hitting, that 5-10 mil range, which is where he's basically approaching, is how do you not become the face of the brand? How can you bring more noise through? Which is what, if you look at like Lemlist, if I look at 11 Labs, they do, right? And one of the companies that I'll just mention, which I think is quite interesting, we were chatting about this, funny enough, on the tube on the way over here, is Artisan. So again, really good social strategy. They're appearing on podcasts. They have founder-led content. They have the whole team posting. They're doing a lot of billboards. What's really interesting about it though is they're doing these really divisive billboards, which is like, hey,
you're going to lose your job.
You're going to lose your job to me. I'm the AI. So it's like an AI SDR tool, by the way, if you haven't heard of Artisan. And really, yes, the point is make noise with these billboards, but they don't actually really give a fuck about anyone signing up or not from these billboards. It's more than they then create content on the campaign.
Yeah, because people write very angry posts.
They create angry posts and they use all of this to then fuel the campaign and fuel like the posts that they'll then do out of the back of that. So, and we've done it a lot, right? Which is like you film some content and then you're filming that content, and it's like the behind the scenes of the polished content. In that case, they're doing like the billboards, and then they do a whole wave of like founder-led content. They get on podcasts, they have the whole team talking about it, and they do a lot of like stuff around that billboard side of things, and they're being quite divisive, and it's the same with like 11 Labs. And they're not necessarily being divisive, but they're focusing on harmonizing the brand, and also not playing it safe. They're getting quite creative. They're really bringing in like a B2C touch into the business through individuals. And if you had to go check out any companies, I would go check out those to start with. They're probably the ones that I enjoy watching and following and tracking what they're doing quite a lot. So this has been, I've loved this.
Highly successful, I feel.
I've enjoyed this. I don't know if you've enjoyed this. Let us know. But this big launch, let's talk facts actually quickly before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Current proposed date is August. I'm not going to give a specific date because
I was going to say let's.
August is the actual launch of everything. So what you're going to see from us is the big fat launch. The big fat launch. This podcast and clips of this. What did you call it?
Clip farming.
Clip farming is happening probably 2 weeks prior to the launch. We have a new animated video. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, so our CMO, a very powerful CMO, is basically building a very nice little explainer video of everything and how it works, and kind of legacy versus now and what we're going to be doing, which is cool.
Yeah.
Got influencers.
We've got influencers. Run us quickly through 30 seconds the strategy with the influencer push.
The idea is basically to find individuals who are obviously like within different areas that we're targeting, and I think we've got a few ideas, but I really want to kind of focus on like a problem that they are facing at the moment and how they can solve that, or how they can like find a solution to that using our tool, because I think that's going to be really important to help people know they need to use agents and all the rest of it, but it's like, how do I solve an actual real world problem?
Yeah. It's like an educational content.
That's what I really want to do.
Then we have the competition. So the competition is the first week of the launch that we will do, or the first maybe week or 2 weeks. We need to finalize that detail. If you enter the competition, you basically just have to sign up to Triggerfy and post a video of you using the workflow, a cool use case that you've done. Yeah. You'll be in with a chance of winning $500 straight out of the bat. If you just post, then you will be in with a chance of winning $500. The decision is basically who builds the most exciting workflow. Now, for every time someone posts, the pot basically goes up by $100. So we start at $500. So if you post, it goes up to $600. If I post, it goes up to $700. So on and so on. And the chance, someone could win. We're debating with $3,000 to $5,000. Someone could win that amount of cash basically by the end of it.
We could bankrupt ourselves either way. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we're putting a lot into that. Competition. And then we have the website relaunch as well.
Total revamp. Yeah.
Total revamp of the website. It's way more enterprise focused and enterprise ready. And then obviously the entire product is, if you're using it today and then you use it tomorrow type thing, it's going to look like two different things as well. So the whole product is changing as well, which is really exciting.
And if you want access, you're going to end up talking to me or Max. Is the other thing as well. Lucky you.
Go find us on LinkedIn, connect with us. Obviously go to Triggerfy website. If you're watching this, you've probably seen it, which is triggerfy.io. And this has been good. I think we should do more of these. I think it'd be cool to have another person in the hotspot as well. Maybe the three of us.
Yeah, we'll get some.
Maybe we should do we should do the big fat launch, during the big fat launch, and post the launch.
We should do like the first month.
Yes.
That would be quite cool. How's it gone?
Yes.
This is because
I quite like that. Because we could be either by the end of that and the very last episode that we do, like super stoked, or we could be miserably depressed.
Either way, great content.
Either way, And that's our philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever happens,
it gets filmed.
It gets filmed.
Yeah.
And it's good content.
Yeah.
You did a great stunt one time. We'll end with a story. We did the stunt in Sastock.
Well, Dublin.
In Dublin.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Basically, we printed off a load of different QR codes with various different messaging. The most popular one.
Well, we weren't playing it safe though. So what was the one we had in the loop?
Well, one was free beer, and I was sticking it on the drinks, all the drinks fridges around and they were not happy about that because people were going in and helping themselves to free beer.
What was the toilet one?
The toilet one was pushing hard, keep calm, and that was on the back of every single toilet. And someone got very angry because they had paid to put their branding in the toilet, and I'd put our QR codes
we got
on top of their branding.
600 signups.
It was huge.
But anyway, long story short is,
and people coming up to our booth.
We're loving this. We got so many people to the booth, and we then had the event organizers come and tell us off. And for most brands, they'd be like, "Shit, we're getting told off," but we loved it because it was filming. It was content.
It was great content.
And guess what? We posted it, and everyone loved it. And why? Why is because we're harmonizing the brand.
Yeah.
And guess what? We tracked all of it, and we converted loads of leads off the back of it, and that's Triggerfy.
Good times.